Well, Dale's going to come over later today for the pickup of these parts. Looking forward to a nice little social visit. There's nothing left to do. Just check him out, and of course we hope he likes them. Now while I'm waiting for Dale, I thought I'd share this little, I guess it's a little tip. We buy these, and they're about $3 in Harbor Freight. For anybody that doesn't have a Dremel tool, I guess you could use it in electric drill too. It's called a cutoff wheel, and it's made with a gritty material. These are relatively inexpensive, and they go on a mandrel like this. And when you're working in your shop, some of the things you can do with this, you can cut bolts off, you can polish things. And so what I'm suggesting is, anybody who doesn't have a Dremel tool, this is a good excuse to have a Dremel tool. Now, I've over the years, of course, had probably 20 Dremel tools, and they have every attachment you can think of. But this is just one example. I'm trying to share this. Some of the little things, you can buy these little polishing wheels. I don't have any use for these because I've seen these catch in wood and take the tip of your finger off, so I try never to use that. But there's every kind of little attachment. And now, because the Dremel tool is so popular, you can go to Lowe's and buy these little polishing wheels, little buffing wheels. There's little things that I've used to buff. As an example, some of the parts on the GS that I think we already have the video out there. And I've saved all the old ones. These are particularly good. These are real good. But the main one, and this is what I want to say, for basically $3 now, and probably 20% off, you can get the mandrel and 3 of these wheels. Well, the wheels themselves wear out, of course, but I always save the mandrels. And so this is just one good little, and I'm going to sort through some of this stuff. I haven't really cleaned this out in a while because the next project we work on is going to require using a Dremel tool, and I want to, well, I don't want to let the cat out of the bag. We want to just get everything prepped up for the next project that's coming into the shop.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, so Dale, now, if you didn't know that was damaged, run your hand on it. It's got exactly the same feel, at least on my fingers, as the rest of the stickers.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And like I said, you always have the choice. The next time something goes wrong with this, or who knows what, you never could predict. We could take the whole tank, 1000 grit it down. That's quite a big job. And put more clear on, and then you can bury these.
Yeah.
And it'll be just whatever.
But that's the way it came from the factory.
This is actually more. This is when you're caught up in the I got to keep it like the factory made it. I'm not. I like to make it better. Now this is a little bit shinier than the side cover was. Can you see your face in it?
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
that's spectacular. Absolutely spectacular.
See, but now you're going to want to take more parts off the bike.
Yeah,
See,
of course.
I've ruined you for life. Like what my wife does to me. She makes me something to eat that I like,
that's great.
and then she owns me for life.
Absolutely love this.
Yeah,
is spectacular.
I was just, Turbo Steve was over here the other day. Believe it or not, this was really a difficult repair.
Yeah.
This was really but I'm so glad it came out nice. And I'm glad you like it.
I am so grateful. Oh my gosh. I'm also excited to send pictures to the guy I bought it from.
Oh, good. Yeah.
Because it happened.
Do you know him? Do you correspond with him?
Yeah, we became friends on Facebook and that kind of thing. But
okay.
I bought it when I was at Barber. I told you.
Right.
And he dropped something on it like 3 days before he came to Barber.
Oh.
So
well, you'll have to show him the video.
He was quite upset.
Send him the videos and tell him I'm going to send him a bill. That'll get his undivided attention.
Exactly.
What happens to a two-stroke? Show him, it's a good pen holder. This is when I let Luciano ride the bike. I let Glenn take a test ride. Nice. No, but that's my fault. That was I was with Joe Roselli. We were cruising down. We were on the highway on 287 when it let go. But it can happen. Trust me. So one last thing before Dale leaves. Dale has read this book, and I got these from Art Rosberry as a Christmas present. He's going to borrow this one. This is number 2. But I had no idea when I got this book just how good it is. You can see how much I've read in one day. This book is just loaded with fun facts about motorcycling. And so what Dale and I are going to do, he's going to take this one, I'm going to take this one, and then we're going to switch later on. But this is a great thing if you like the history of motorcycling. And this Sunday, we're going to be going to Dale's Museum up in Newburgh, so it should be an interesting day. But we're just waiting for Dale to wrap this up, and the next time we see this bike, I hope it's all in one piece. Again, I'm looking at that repair from a lot of angles, and if you only knew how difficult that repair really was, a difficult one. It doesn't look difficult, it was. And the side cover, ooh, I love that side cover. I think Dale's gonna, every time he rides the bike, he's gonna be thinking, don't scratch the side cover, don't scratch the side cover. But that really did come out nice. And Dale's out getting a blanket so we can wrap this up so we can take it back. Dale's tucking his baby into sleep. I love it.
Actually, let me pull this over a little. Here we go.
Good night. Good night. Wow. Yeah, that was...
All right.
That should be a jewel. We have our two. Say goodbye. Good night. Okay, Dale has taken all of the RZ parts back. Next time we see him, we'll see him at the museum this Sunday. I'll make a video of that, of course. Here's one little thing, and I tried to put this tip on before Dale got here, but Dale got here early. That cutoff wheel that you can buy in Harbor Freight. Here's what I always suggest. One good use for it. There's a lot of good uses, but this is one a lot of people don't think about. When I buy these bolts, and I always buy the bolts that I'm going to use on a restoration, I buy the longest one I possibly can. In this case, I think this is probably 2 inches. Well, I'm not going to need 2-inch bolts, but I cut every bolt down as I need them. Now, here's an example. If you take a lot of the bolts from the Japanese motorcycles, they have Phillips head, and when time you take them out, they're boogered up and you can't get them back in, even with an impact driver. But these bolts have, I get these from Bolt Depot. They're stainless steel. They're really grade 5. Some of the bolts on a motorcycle, like the ones that hold the engine in, or some of the mechanical ones would be grade 8s, but most of the bolts are grade 5. Now, when you want to cut a bolt down, let's say you only need a bolt 1 inch long, and so I wanted to show this, and then that's probably going to be the best tip you've ever heard. I don't know about that. Anyway, I screw a nut on. When I learned this tip, it just changed my whole way of doing things. So let's say, for instance, you need, this is a 2-inch bolt, you need one 1 3/4. Well, the first thing is screw a nut on to this side. The side you're going to cut is going to determine how much you're going to cut off the bolt. You also want to have the nut, if you don't have a locking nut, you just want it nice and tight. Then I'm going to put this in a vise and using that cutoff wheel, shorten it. And then when I back out the nut, it's going to fold the threads back the way they should be. I can dress it off on a wheel. And I should have a bolt that has a real nice chamfered edge, and it's exactly the right length. And by the way, by buying these bolts from Bolt Depot, and I would suggest everybody do this, if you're going to restore an older bike, buy 5, 6s, 8s, maybe a few 10s. Buy them as long as you possibly can, then whatever. If they have Allen bolts, they have bolts that have the open, you need an open end wrench. But I prefer these because they're just easier and neater to polish. They polish up beautifully by. So let me show you what the trick is to cutting this. So number one, if you can put it in a vise and you know this is how much you want to cut off. Of course, even if you move that, you always want to have the part that you want to cut off sticking out of the vise. Of course, if you grab this with your bare hand, it's going to get cherry red. If you use a glove, it's going to vibrate. So having it in a vise is a big asset, especially if you have one of these very special vices like I have that have a paint sample of everything we've painted in the last month. Again, once these are installed, what happens, the edge is usually rough. So the first time you press it up on the part you're going to cut, it's going to be rough and chatter, but then little by little, it'll get assume the right diameter, and from that point on, the trick is not to push it so hard that you break the wheel. You let the wheel do the work, and that's really the well, let's see. We'll probably break 6 of them by the time we're done. Let me just get started here. It takes just a second. Now, it may not be obvious, but the reason I wanted to show this is a tool you can buy for almost no money. It's a $3 thing, a Dremel tool. I assume everybody in their shop has a Dremel tool. The other part of this part is going to be hot now. I always have a little Windex thing of water around. Let that cool off a second. We have a big cutoff wheel. I could just go, but this being able to do it with a Dremel tool, so much nicer. Now I can take the nut off. By taking the nut off, I've folded the threads back, so now anybody that's ever cut a bolt knows it's always a problem getting a nut back on. Now it's not a problem. Now what I can do with this, let me just back this up just a little bit. We're on our little grindstone here. And what we have for all purposes is we have any length bolt we want just by having them that big, and in 30 seconds or a minute I can have any length bolt I need, or trim bolts that are too long. The only thing you can't do if a bolt is too short, you're screwed. So that's a little tip I hope you can use in your shop or working on your restoration or modeling project, whatever. And I know Dale is happy. I'm happy. I hope you're happy too. And thanks for watching.